Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen. Thanks for joining me. Somebody asked me a really interesting question in the comments on one of my videos recently. They asked, how do you control overthinking? And it was quite a timely question because I am currently in a phase where I am doing quite a bit of overthinking. So I've been using a lot of the techniques that I have learned over years, decades of spiritual practice to get a handle on my thoughts and on what I'm doing with my energy. So while I was laying awake at 2 a.m. the other morning, I decided that it would probably be a good time to make this video and tell you about some of the things that I was doing right at that moment to try and get a handle on my thoughts. So I have something going on in my life right now. Like, who doesn't? It involves my work and some change that's I've been told for months might be coming for my work. And it's something that I don't want to happen, that I think is going to, I love my job, but it's going to make my job a little less comfortable or anyway, just different. And different for me is, the unknown. So therefore, if I'm worried about it at all, I start creating scenarios in my mind and thinking about it and having imaginary conversations in my head of there's going to be a meeting about it. And we don't even know when the meeting's going to be. Like, it could be next week and it could be months from now. But I start having conversations that I might have in the meeting and just doing all kinds of things that are not healthy and are not good law of attraction. So I've been studying law of attraction for decades. I believe firmly in it. I've proven to myself countless times that it works. And I use the principles of law of attraction to help control overthinking. So the first thing is to get a handle on your thoughts, just to notice them. Because what can happen with me is my thoughts become just like this runaway train, and I'm daydreaming through things that I'm sort of missing what's going on right now. I just did a video called Be Where You Are. And it's about enjoying the moment and being in the moment of what you're doing at the time. And that's what happens is when I'm consumed with something like this, or when I have something unknown coming up that I'm worried about, I just start running and I don't even realize it's happening. I can go on one of my nature walks and walk like, half a kilometer and not even have paid attention to one thing about my walk because I'm just in this imagining scenarios and thinking about the things that might happen. So the first thing to do is get a handle on it. And I did learn that through mindfulness meditation like a long, long time ago. But it's also just noticing just what I'll do now is I don't really meditate. Like, I don't sit and meditate for a long time in silence in a room. My meditation is walking in nature. So while I'm walking along, if I catch myself, hey, wait, you're not paying attention to the trees and nature around you, you're thinking about the thing. Just catching myself is a success. And it creates a positive connection in your mind of like, hey, pay attention to your thoughts. So the more I have learned to catch what I'm thinking about, the better I am at it. And the easier it is for me to notice what I'm thinking about and just kind of put a pause button on it while I figure out what I'm going to do to get out of that and back into the moment. The reason for doing this is because when I'm on my walk, I'm in my bliss place. I'm doing my joy, and I don't want to miss all that. That's when I'm trying to raise my vibration, because where my vibration is, meaning what kind of mood I'm in or what kind of energy I'm putting out, totally attracts what kind of energy I'm getting back. And so those little pockets of time when I'm out walking, or like the other night when I was supposed to be sleeping, I'm recharging my energy, right? So that I'm putting out positive energy and, attracting back positive energy. So by getting a handle on it, even just for a second, and going, wait a minute, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing right now. I'm thinking about the thing. Just that in itself is a success. Do you see what I mean? We think, oh, I thought about the thing for my whole walk, but no, I didn't, because even if that was the only time I caught it for a second. So I can look at that as a success. Again, positive thoughts are going to create more positive thoughts. So I can look at it like, okay, well, I caught it for a second. Like, I went back into it 10 times on the walk, but I manage to catch it just for that little second. And the more you do that, catch your thoughts, the more you can catch your thoughts in the future. So then what do? Once you realize that you're thinking about the thing and not enjoying what you're doing in the moment, or just even not thinking about the thing. One technique I learned a long time ago, and sometimes the techniques I talk about, I don't know where I got them from, so I can't give credit. If it came from a book or something, it's probably something I read 20 years ago, and I'm not going to be able to remember where it's from. But one of the concepts I was taught was the mental conveyor belt. And that is, you can do it in meditation, but you can also just do it right now in normal thought. Imagine that there's this conveyor belt and you can put your thoughts onto it. And the conveyor belt can either go off into the universe or God or whatever you call where you might want to just hand the thing and let them take care of it. Or you can create a conveyor belt that does eventually come back around to you if what you're thinking about is something that you're going to have to take care of eventually. You can't just put it out of your mind forever. You can put it on a conveyor belt and promise that you're going to let that conveyor belt come back around to you later, maybe when it's not 2 a.m. or when you're not on a nature walk trying to get into a better mood, when you're ready and able and have the tools you need to handle the situation. So put it on the conveyor belt. And then this idea that you can think about nothing, for me, it doesn't exist. So even if I put the thoughts on the conveyor belt, I can't be thinking about nothing. I have to replace those thoughts. So in law of attraction, everything you focus on creates more of something vibrationally like what you're focusing on. So if I'm focusing on the thing, I'm creating the likelihood of all these worst case scenarios that I'm thinking about with the thing. I'm creating more of that. So now that I've put the thing on the conveyor belt, I'm going to bring in some thoughts that are more like what I want to be thinking about right now. So one thing I did the other night was I realized that the thing, because it has to do with my work, it's only one aspect of my life. Yes, it's going to affect a third of my day, but that's still only a third of my day, 5 days out of the 7 days a week. So I started thinking, well, it's only one aspect of my life. I have a lot of other things in my life that are awesome. What are they? And I just started running thoughts. My grandson, Lola, my dog. I like my apartment, my new YouTube channel, just thinking about things that made me feel happy. And even if I couldn't latch onto them for very long, just doing that replaced those thoughts for a little while and gave me some relief. And that's actually in the scenario the other night, that's when I fell asleep, when I started doing that. I guess that's the equivalent of a gratitude journal, right? Because I was running thoughts of things that I am grateful for. I don't journal. Like I don't have a book. I'm never going to get a book. I'm not going to write things down. Everything happens in thoughts and words for me. So for me, it's just running thoughts of things that I'm grateful for. So we've caught the fact that we're thinking about the thing that we're overthinking. We've put that on the conveyor belt, depending on the situation, either so it can go off to the universe so the universe can take care of it for you, or so that it can come back around and you can handle it later. And we have replaced those thoughts with something more pleasant. And the whole purpose of doing all that is to create more peace in my life, to create more positive situations. Because even just a tiny amount of time thinking about all those positive things in my life, based on law of attraction, is going to bring more positive things into my life. Whatever energy you're putting out, you're going to attract back to you in some way. So, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like, I can't do that all day long. I'm human. I have stuff going on in my life. I slip up. I fall back into the overthinking. The next day, I fell back into it for a while, right? I got up in the morning, and while I was getting ready for work, I started thinking about it again. But I did the whole thing again. Just taught myself, oh, right, I should be enjoying my few minutes of coffee sitting outside on my balcony, looking out over, the view from my balcony, not thinking about the thing. So I stopped again, put it on the conveyor belt, and just sat and enjoyed the view from my balcony. So you're going to go back and forth. At least I do. And anybody that I know that's human is going to go back and forth. It's not that you're going to control overthinking forever, and I'm done with overthinking. If you're a person that overthinks, you're going to slip back into it. But the success is in catching it. The success is in gradually, and for me, it's been over decades, increasing the amount of time that I'm not overthinking or that I'm catching that I'm overthinking. And those are all successes. And then when I think about a success, right, I'm thinking about something positive again now. So I'm going to create more success in my life. On the note of running conversations in your head, do you do that? If you've got a meeting coming up or you're anticipating there's a conflict conversation or something coming with someone, do you pre-run the conversations in your head? Because I sure do. And, they're never good. They never go my way. They never end with me going like, oh, there, so that worked out great. All the right things were said. They are conversations that would never happen in real life. The things that I'm imagining that the work folks are going to say to me, I don't even know legally, I don't think they can say them to me. Like, when you are overthinking, you are imagining scenarios that are never going to happen exactly the way you're thinking about it. So when you're running that conversation, that's not what's going to happen. So now when I catch myself doing that, I just say to myself, like, you haven't even had the conversation yet. You don't even know what's going to be said. So let's just stop having the conversation in our head and wait till we're in the conversation, or right before we head into the conversation, let's ask our guides to come with us and give us inspiration of the right things to say. And maybe we'll ask the other folks' guides to come in with them as well and, inspire them to say all the right things as well. And right away, you feel more lightness in it, and I'm bringing more positive energy to my anticipation of this conversation. So in law of attraction, everything is about, two things: what you're thinking and the energy that you're putting out. And I'm going to do another whole video on how to tell what the energy is that you're putting out. But the basic gauge is how you feeling. If you're feeling stressed, worked up, nervous, anything that's not a way that you want to be feeling. And for me, I usually feel it like in here in my solar plexus and somewhere between my heart and my solar plexus. If that energy, that feeling that you're having inside is, messed up, not what you wish it would be, that is what you're attracting back to yourself. And there's this emotional guidance system in one of Abraham-Hicks' books that I'm going to do a video about, but you can Google it now that I said that, Abraham-Hicks Emotional Guidance System. It's a hierarchy of moods. You're not going to go from whatever. For me, it's not despair that I'm having, it's worry and dread about this situation. If you're in a low vibration like that, you're not going to jump yourself up to joy. Like, it's all going to be great. I can't do that. I don't think it's possible to do. But what I was able to do with just doing this work and, getting a handle on the thoughts and putting them away and replacing with good thoughts was I was able to come up like just a little bit more into, some gratitude, but really where I ended up was in hope. I was able to have some hopeful thoughts, not of imagining how it's going to turn out exactly, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. When you try and imagine something like that, you're not going to be right, not exactly right about a situation that there's a whole bunch of people involved in. That's my opinion anyway. So when you're trying to figure out how it's going to go, instead, what I do is just envision how I'm going to feel. And I may still not even be able to get to like, oh, this is great, this is beautiful. Sometimes I can, but not usually. But what I can get to is, this didn't turn out as bad as I thought. And I can think of lots of situations in my life that didn't turn out as bad as I thought they were going to. Some that turned out great, some that just I envisioned this really horrible situation, and that's not how it turned out. I read a saying once that said that 90% of what people worry about never comes true. And it doesn't come out exactly the way that they were worrying about it. At least that's been my experience. So to get myself into hope as well, I can also sort of try and slide into like, well, I've quoted it on videos on my other channel with my friend Cindy, Out of This World 55. My line is, what if it doesn't suck? Because I think it's going to suck. And what if it doesn't? A friend of mine coined it in a much better way and said, what if it turns out to be nothing? So I apply that, and it helps me to just think, well, then maybe it could turn out to be nothing, like, or it could turn out to be not as much of a problem as I'm thinking anyway. And then once all that's happened, now I don't want to be overthinking about my overthinking, right? So the next thing I do is get out of the situation, like go do something, preferably something that brings me joy, which, for me is get my shoes on and go outside with Lola and just get to some nature and go for a walk. If I can't do that, I go sit on my balcony because my balcony overlooks one of my favorite views. It overlooks nature. And so I can even just go out there, and it could be for a minute. But if I can get 15 minutes to go sit out there, I will, and just do something to be doing something else. And for you, that might not be going for a walk in nature, or maybe you can't get out. There's no nature around. You can't get outside right now. It might be cooking something or watching a good show on TV, whatever you need to do to just get out of it completely and get yourself into some kind of a space where you can be feeling a little better and thinking about something else. And then often for me, that's not the end of it. I cycle back around, I slip, I forget, I go back into the overthinking and do the whole process again. And as I have worked through that multiple times in my life, I've become better and better at controlling overthinking using these law of attraction principles. That way I can get a handle on it quicker, and I don't slip so far into it. I don't slip so far into the negative energy and the doom thoughts. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments how you control overthinking and what you thought of these techniques. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you soon.